Enthusiast Podcast. I'm here with Trey and Thomas, fellow admins for the group, and we're here to talk about various topics in alignment with ourselves as car enthusiasts. So stay tuned, get some input, let us know what you think. So our first podcast topic for tonight, what makes an automotive enthusiast an automotive enthusiast? What drives you in the car community? What makes you, in the sort of sense, a genuine car enthusiast? Is it your love for cars? Is it your love for the scene? What makes you tick? What gives you that sense of pride as a car enthusiast? That's what we're about today. So, just to kick things off, I'm going to pass it over to Trey. Let me hear your thoughts on this, and here we go.
Honestly, for me personally, being a car enthusiast, first and foremost, is an opinion. What makes you an enthusiast is going to vary for everyone. I feel like there's certain aspects that not everyone is going to respect, aspects that not everyone is going to be on board with, or have the expertise to do so. When you really sit down and think about it, or at least for me personally, I enjoy all aspects of automotive everything, whether it's drag racing or street racing, anything and everything to do with a car, I'm about in some form or fashion. Like many of the people that I know, that I met through cars, my love for cars started at an early age playing video games. I've been heavily into Gran Turismo series, the Need for Speed series, Forza, etc., etc. Then Fast and the Furious came out, and that just took it to a whole nother level. And I've been following cars for 28, so about 20 years. So it's just it's part of who I am, for the most part. Of course, I don't agree with everything that comes with every aspect of cars. I hate paying for gas. I wish E85 was available everywhere, but it's not. Things are way too expensive at times. Insurance is a fraud because I've been driving for 15 years and I've never gotten into a wreck ever. Like, yes, illegally driving and still never got into a wreck or needed my insurance. So there's a few little nuances that come with being a car guy or being an enthusiast. But that's just me. I don't knock people for whether they do their own maintenance or not. I'm not going to knock somebody because they don't necessarily use their car for what it's meant for. None of that really matters to me at the end of the day because it's really not my money, nor is it my car. The only thing I don't really get with are like overly modified trucks that never see dirt. I guess I'm too much of a purist for that. I just don't see the point in having a clean truck, personally. Like, truck's only purpose for me is to pull the car or pull some other stuff and do truck shit, but that's just me. Same thing with, like, extremely stanced out cars that, like, there's a fine line between a stanced show car and how is that thing driving on the highway. With excessive amounts of camber and I don't know, like we could go on and on about that, but for me, an enthusiast, like I said, it's more of a mindset than it is a definition for me personally.
All right, good stuff. Thomas, you got any input before I go on?
Yeah, man. What's up, everybody? It's Thomas here. A lot of y'all see me on the page a lot, commenting, having fun, joking around with everybody. Car enthusiast, my definition, if you like cars, you like cars. Some people take the meaning a lot deeper, others don't. Me, if it's got tires and wheels, make it squeal. I like it, you love it. Let's get it. What started me? Man, I've been reckless on anything with wheels since I was young. My parents were military. I remember we grew up on Pope Air Force Base. Started with dirt bikes, four-wheelers, anything. Little green monster. I know everybody knows that. The big wheel in the front, you rip both of them at the same time and throw a 360 in the middle of the road. Oh, man. We used to ride our bikes through the park, our little electric dirt bikes through the park and stuff. We see the military police coming, you ain't got your helmet on. Oh, we was running. We was having a blast. We had our little electric cars and stuff. My dad always helped me customize them. It was a lot of fun. Then, I want to say I was about 8. He put me in the front seat of his car, and I was driving. And that was it. From then on, I was addicted. I was hooked. From 8 years old, I was hooked. Yep. But, of course, it was a safe environment. Big empty parking lots. But still, I was behind the wheel. Then, as I got older, I started going out to the farm, helping the family. Thomas hopping the truck. Me? Oh, yeah. Get in the truck. All right, let's drive. Where we going? Come on. I have fun with it, man. I love cars. I got my own car. I got my first car when I was 17. It's a Camry. I wanted to do so much to that car. So first, of course, had some 20-inch Foos 5 stars on it. Yes, chip Foos. My dad hooked me up with those. Had 2 10-inch kickers in the back. Comp amp. It sounded good. Of course, I blew the seals in my back doors one day eventually, having fun with the boys at the skating rink. Probably set off a couple car alarms in the high school parking lot. Telling on myself, but hey, it's the past now. It was a lot of fun. Then from that car, I got in a big wreck in that car. Maintenance issues on my end. I didn't know much about them. Somebody hit me from the back, totaled the entire car. I took that insurance money, and I got me a Lexus, a 92 Lexus SC400. Probably one of the best cars I ever owned. That's when I met my good buddy, Mikhail. I know a lot of you Lexus guys know Mikhail. Dude's a legend. Then I grew up a little bit, kind of grew out of that car, but I love the body style of it. I still love the style of it to this day. I'm a big style guy when it comes to enthusiasm. Real big style guy. I like function form. It's got to be I'm on that fine line of either it's going to break or it's going to act right. I'm on that fine line right there. Now I'm up in my 350Z. I love it. It's slammed, but I don't lay frame. I had a full steering angle because I've gotten into drifting in the past 5 years. So long as I can turn, long as I can get full lock, I like it. We're going to ride it till the wheels fall off. I love that car.
Yep. 350Z was actually my first car, oddly enough, and I've been in the VQ game since. I will probably own other vehicles, but it's just something about having a Nissan that has always resonated with me. I remember, I think I was in the 5th or 6th grade, and I saw at one of those book fairs we used to have as a kid, and there was a poster of a 350Z, and I told myself I'd get it one day. Didn't realize it was going to take me almost 20 years, but, you know, it is what it is.
I can relate to you on that. I did not know how much I would like a 350Z. I didn't realize how affordable they were until my dad found one for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't know how much I honestly liked that car. Like, I seen it in Fast and Furious. It was cool. I was like, dang, okay, it's slidey boys. They got action. They got style. Let's get it. But then I drove one, and I just fell in love. Yeah. I can't explain it. I just love the way that car drives and handles. And I've driven other cars. It's just, I don't know. Maybe it's the VQ scream. I like noisy motors. Maybe I like the scream.
Yep.
All right. Well, for me, similar intro, especially along with my history with Nissan. So, in terms of how my car enthusiasm started, I grew up in a family that centered themselves around driving GM cars. You know, everything else like that, Chevys especially. So, you know, that wasn't anything new to me, but in terms of my connections with cars, it really wasn't there until, I'd say, midway around high school. You know, I had a wonderful opportunity to actually get out of the country and actually go to Spain for a little bit in high school, and I had the opportunity to learn stick on Boxster, those Porsche convertibles. and basically the person who hosted the trip was teaching me, and I ended up coming across a hill and couldn't get up the hill because I couldn't engage in first gear without the car stalling and rolling back down all the way in the hill. And he basically told me, we're not leaving until you get this car up the hill. It took me about a good 3 hours. I eventually managed to ride out first gear and through some miracle second gear all the way up the hill. And that's kind of what really started the attraction towards cars. So when I came back to the States, I started looking at various platforms, imports, exotics, American muscle. And it's right around the time where, the second Fast and Furious, Too Fast, Too Furious movie really stood out to me. It was a little bit just after Tokyo Drift came out as well. And so the Nissan 350Z did catch my eye as well. Nissans in general, just the general culture around Nissans, very revered, especially in Japan. So first car actually ended up becoming a Nissan Altima, of all things. Automatic, I think it's like a 4-speed automatic for the 2001s, I'm not sure, off the top of my head. And, that car was dirt slow. I think it was like 155 horsepower, but that's when I started getting a little bit into the mod game. If that's hard to believe, I stuck a canister muffler on it, put a cone intake on it, like one of those Spectra filters from like Discount Auto Parts. And what led me into the car scene from that point was when I ended up befriending people who worked at that Discount Auto Parts store from my house. I ended up running into one of the attendants on the road coming back from one of my night classes in college, and I ended up drag racing him, or at least trying to chase him down the public road, and we met up at a light. He was like, "What are you up to right now?" And I was like, "Heading home, gonna go study." He's like, "I'm heading to a car meet," and I'm like, "What on earth is a car meet?" And so I ended up following him to our local movie theater based out in Coral Springs, Florida. Next thing you know, there are 400 plus cars, Evos, Corvettes, Lambos, Z's, everything out there. That's what really led me into car meets, and really that was kind of my intro into the car scene itself. And I got hooked ever since. From there, I ended up getting rid of the Altima, ended up with a few 240s, S13s, S14s. Both the 14s were Zenki models, so the 95, 96 with the round headlight setup. And
jealous.
Yep, it was a good time. And then from there, I ended up trading up to a Lexus SC300 as well. That was a fun car. It was a taste of what it was like having a luxury car. Fortunately, I didn't have too grave an experience with it because of the fact that no one told me how much the window regulators, how expensive they were. AC compressor went out. And just because those parts tend to hold a premium in cost, I decided just simply to get rid of the car altogether. It wasn't worth fixing because the repair cost itself ended up being worth more than the car itself. And then after graduating college, I ended up relocating to Chicago. Godparents actually let me use their Audi S6, and I ended up driving that for the entire time I was there. So it was nice, 5.2 liter V10, same as the Lambo engine, so that was fun, all-wheel drive. Wasn't exactly the fastest car on earth, but it could pick up in the line. It was ideal, especially for colder snow climates up there. Ended up leaving the car back up there when I came back to Florida, and ended up in a 350Z, much like both of you. It's actually how we met, too, in fact, now that I'm thinking about it. I ended up starting a little Z group in the South Florida area and kind of spread across the country, and then some other people picked it up, and that's how I ended up meeting you guys. So for me, the 350Z was pretty much a huge turning point in my life. It was the first car I financed on my own, and everything else like that. That's what led me into heavy modifications and everything else like that. So I really do have a connection with that car. Fortunately, a lot of traditional known problems with valve covers leaking, everything else like that. And I ended up getting rid of the car, taking a break from the car scene to finish up my graduate school career pursuits, but looking to get back into the scene sometime next year. So going back to the original question, what made me a car enthusiast and what makes a car enthusiast in general, it's just appreciation for cars in general. It doesn't matter what particular preference you have. And, similar to what Thomas said, if it has four wheels, okay, it could have two wheels for all we know. It's got a motor in it, drivetrain, it goes. You're an enthusiast, personally, in my opinion. In terms of the platforms, I know everyone has their preferences. So I know Thomas has a particular preference for drifting. Trey, I know you like everything, but I know that you mentioned you have slightly more of an interest with road racing. For me personally, I always grew up interested in drag racing. I used to drag race my 350Z in the quarter mile. Obviously, not the fastest times in the world, but that was something I particularly enjoyed. Also, did some street racing here and there. But recently, I attended a road course event from Hooked on Driving up in Palm Beach International Raceway in Jupiter, which is about an hour north of me in South Florida. And a buddy of mine, James, has a 2018 ZL11LE and sat in the passenger, for this, long day event from early in the morning. It was like 7, 8 in the morning to as late as like 4:30, 5 o'clock in the afternoon. And it was a whole different experience for me in terms of what car enthusiasm was for me. So all of a sudden, like, my whole perspective on cars, their functionality, everything changed because of this one road racing event. And now I'm still going through the motions. To me, is what it means to be a car enthusiast in terms of my perspective. What do I enjoy? And it's amazing because I've been going through the motions for the past few years trying to figure out what car to replace my 350Z yet once I finished with my school studies, which I did a couple years ago, and I've still been wrestling with that decision. I realized I want something that I can utilize around a road course. I've actually taken like a sudden passion for road course racing, so that's kind of what I'm forcing my next decision on what car I get around that. So for me, I don't think there really is a wrong answer in terms of car enthusiasm. You like what you like. You can't knock anyone else for what their preferences are. For me personally, like Trey, really don't see the huge connection when it comes to large trucks, but of course, to each his own. And also, I know the stance movement is the new trend. It's been that way for the past couple years. I personally don't see it. As it is, just having a low car is already trouble, especially come across that one pothole or that one giant hole in the wall, and hole in the street. Next thing you know, your transmission's out in the middle of the street and the car's still going. So, I never understood the whole thing with the wheels sticking out or anything because it compromised the drivability of the car, but it's a fad, to each his own. You like the setup, I can't knock you for it. So yeah, I guess with car enthusiasm, to each his own. I guess that's my input on it. So.
Oh yeah, I definitely agree.
So, and I know that AJ, which is a fourth member, unfortunately couldn't make it at this time, and I'm sure he had some decent input on this as well. But
I've seen AJ's rides in person.
Right.
Pure function. They're lowered. They're his style, but it's pure function. That is a driving man right there.
Right. He's got some decent build setups. He's got a ton of cars to keep up with. Like, I have a hard time keeping up with his cars. Like, I know he ended up getting a classic BMW that he picked up from his old man recently. His high school car he picked up from his old man. I know he's got that monster drag car out of his 350Z he's trying to build.
Oh yeah, let's not talk about that one because that's a monster right there. But y'all be ready for that. AJ's gonna put on. Y'all be ready for that. Keep talking about the VQs. AJ's coming for you.
Yeah,
Facts.
No, he's got that Corvette as a toy, but yeah.
Yeah, a toy that his daughter falls asleep in. What in the world? She's gonna be a savage.
The whole man's gonna be savage.
But I really do feel like it's kind of hilarious that we've all met through the VQ world. Like,
we did.
It's just one of those things where I feel like people underestimate what cars can do for a person, what cars can do for a psyche. Like me personally, some of my best times of my life have been revolved around cars. Some of the best people I've met in my life have been car people. Some people that I call family, like you guys, car people, and for me, it's more than just a hobby. It's something that I don't know if I would be the same person I am today if I wasn't into cars. I have a lot of other hobbies, but none of them have I spent as much time, money, blood, sweat, and tears over like I have with cars. And it's just one of the coolest things to me when it comes to what a car community can do for somebody.
Oh, no doubt. I agree with you. We got to get AJ in on one of these because he'll tell you. My Slam 350Z is my fishing truck. I got my fishing poles hanging out the window riding down the highway. He can attest to it. We pulled up. He was like, hey, man, meet me in Walmart. I was like, all right. We went to Walmart. Of course, me and AJ met in the 350Z community. Actually, I met AJ at a car meet or a night show. It wasn't really a car meet. You had to donate and everything to get in for CHKD. It's pretty nice. Children's Hospital for Kingdom's Daughters. And me and my buddy Sean was there. We had our hoods popped, both of us in 350Zs. And I seen these two guys walk up to my car, and they just, staring down my engine. I was just like, man, who was that? Then they left. And they went off to the little spot that everybody goes to. And I pull up to the spot, and I see the same 350Zs that I seen at the event leave after they were staring at my car. I'm like, man. So that was me and AJ's first unofficial meeting. And then, of course, later on, we spoke, met him on Facebook, caught up, looked at each other's profiles. He noticed I like fishing. I was like, man, I'll take you out if the wife will let you. He got permission. We went fishing. I brought my fishing truck out. We went fishing. I drove the fishing truck to the beach. I had a 9.5-foot surf pole sticking out the window all the way down the highway, man. If you're not going to drive your car, I don't know what to tell you, man. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, I know for, some people in terms of their preferences on how they drive their cars, I know they have people who drive anything. They don't care about how many miles they put on the car. They don't care, what is their show car. They'll just drive the damn thing. Then I know there's some people who are particular about the car being exposed on the open road and, to each his own. But for me, you have to drive your car. It's like you have to enjoy it. Life is short. Who are you trying to save the car for at the end of the day? I'd say drive the car to the fullest, in terms of reliability. That's a risk you take with any car.
Agreed.
For me, I personally think in terms of like the daily driver aspect, because I know some people are often conflicted with this, whether the car is a daily driver or not, you should drive it, at least more than once throughout the week or something, at least in my opinion. Otherwise, it just sits there, piling dust. What's the point of even getting in the car if you really can't enjoy it? Is it there just to sit in the garage? I say drive it. Once in a while, warm up the motor a little bit. Just take it for a spin. Just drive it. Don't be like those guys that just literally take out the car around the block and then put it back. Just drive.
Those are the collectors.
The collectors.
Yeah, we're a little bit more on the needy side than the collectors. We can't shame them, but we're a little bit more on the driving side.
Right.
They love a car for its beauty. We love it for its beauty and its ability, which I'm sure they love it for its ability as well, but we want to feel the ability.
Right.
Like Jay Leno, oh man, that collection right there. Everybody knows about that one. If you don't, you should look them up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good setup. Good setup. Yep. Well, let me see. Well, I mean, what else is there? I mean, like, I'm trying to think, like, what do people knock nowadays in terms of car enthusiasm? Like, I know there's, like, controversy with that stance thing.
Oh, yeah, the stance.
Yeah. In terms of people who don't wrench on their own cars, like, I know that's another thing.
Yeah, stance. The stance thing. I'm more of a style guy myself, so my car is Somewhat stance. I'm pretty sure stance guys will rip me a new one if they seen my car, but I drive it. I bang the gears. I know that my rear suspension is soft for traction when I launch it.
Right.
So if I was slammed, I'd probably be dropping my fenders on my rims because I do have a little stretch in the back. I'm running a kind of a small tire right now. So,
but the car is functional.
Yes, the car is very functional. I just, when I first put the coils on and it was bottomed out, I was like, man, that looks good. Took a couple pictures, but I went to launch the car and I heard like the most, oh man, that was a terrible sound. Then I took it straight back to the house, jacked it up and raised up the back end more and I just kept doing that over and over and over until when I launched it, it was sitting somewhere I wanted it to sit visually. And when I launched it, it wouldn't hit and rub and drag. So that was just my opinion on it. Because I like it, but if you drive your car hard, like really throw your car around like me, I don't think you'd be able to do that if it's still your daily driver. Now, track car, I can see anybody slamming their car, stupid hard suspension to where you just break your back going through wherever you want to drive. But I'm not trying to break my back. I'm still young.
Yeah. I mean, what else is there? Like, I know a lot of people are there's some controversy around people who aren't or are car enthusiasts based on the amount of work they actually do on their car. So, I guess that's kind of where I particularly, feel some kind of way toward that because I used to be the person that, because it wasn't so much a matter of terms of being inept when it comes to working on cars. It wasn't an issue of whether I could do it or not. It was a matter of whether I had the time, the resources, the convenience, the amenities, to be able to work on my car during the time. Like I mentioned before, after high school, I immediately went into college. So for me, it was my utmost priority for my cars not to break down. So I didn't have the convenience to actually take the time on the weekend to do anything beyond just making sure that, my fluids were topped off, air in my tires. I had time to, change the brakes here and there and do an oil change. But in terms of like heavy duty stuff, like an engine swap, like taking out the KA and dropping an SR in it, anything else like that, like I didn't have the time. And as I get older, my lifestyle changes. I'm finding that to be more and more of the case. So like now, for example, I'm getting into the process where I'm moving into a house next year with a garage. So, of course I'll have the convenience of having the space to work on my car. But even then with, my career, my field is in various financial businesses. I'm more than likely not going to have, the time I had before to actually work on my car. So, I may have to send my car to a shop to have general maintenance done or even aftermarket performer parts installed and tuning and the whole 9 yards. And, I know it might, it's different for, you guys and everyone else, but, I don't think it makes me any less of an enthusiast.
No, I agree with you.
Yeah.
I really do. You said it might not occur with you guys or we might not be able to relate to it or whatever, but see me, I'm the kind of person in the car community to where if I know somebody doesn't have that time and I'm not doing something, I'll offer my services. Just don't abuse it. Right. Like keep everything friendly and cordial. So like if I offer to come work on your car, don't make it to where the only time you want to hang out with me is when I'm working on your car.
Right.
Because the way my pops brought me up in like the car community world, man, the HOA called us the Fast and Furious house. At any given time, there'd be 6 to 7 cars out my front yard. One car getting worked on. We got the grill in the back going, having a good time. Dartboard in the garage. Whatever car is directly in front of the garage is getting worked on. Everybody else just there hanging out, chilling. Just don't make it to where the only time you hit me up is when you want to work on your car. Because that's when a person that doesn't work on their car would kind of I'd get very frustrated with them.
Like on top of that, for me, I can't stand two things when it comes to that. when I ask you for help and you don't actually fucking help and you bail out, and 2, when I ask for help from you, you're never around or never available. Like, I try my best to, like, if I'm in a position to help somebody out with their car, or like it's an install day, they want to go install their coilovers or get help with the brakes, whatever it may be, like, I'm down to help regardless of what it is, because that's just who I am. I enjoy doing that kind of work. You need help pulling your motor, cool, I'll come over. Like, I'm not going to give you some BS excuse. Either I can or I can't. But in the same breath, like Thomas said, like, I'm not gonna only talk to that person when I need help. That just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. You know, I'm wired a little bit differently from that. And I feel like that comes down to a mutual respect kind of thing, and, you know, just being there for people. So yeah, it's just one of those things. I get really bugged out about it when, you know, it comes across as they're using you, and I hate being used in in any aspect of life. So
especially when you learn a platform to try and help them out.
Right. Like, really, I just spent all this time, and yeah, no, I value my time a lot. So me doing things, you know, I'm a very punctual person at that. So, like, if you're telling me that you're going to be at your house ready to work on the car at 7 o'clock, I'm going to be there at 6:30. I expect you to be there at least by 7, you know, or be ready to work on time. You know, I have other things that I would like to do too, but you said you were going to be here at a certain point. I expect it. I mean, it's just, I blame the military aspect of my life that makes me that way, but it just, it bugs me. But I don't think any less of people, you know, whether they do all the work themselves or most of the work themselves, or they take it to the shop. Now, it might be one of those situations where I would question it. You know, I had a buddy of mine in Austin take his car to a shop to get some parts installed. I'm like, bro, we could have did that in your garage. You would have saved you some money. And that brings up another point. I'm just talking on pet peeves now at this point. I can't stand when people ask for advice about a car or a platform that I know quite a fair amount about and have some experience in, and go completely against my advice. That's annoying. Like, why'd you even ask me that question if you're just gonna go and do something else? I can't stand when people are constantly looking for whatever part may be, wheels or tires or plug on something, and I'm always pushing them out. Like, hey, I got this for you. Like, you've been looking for this for however long you've been looking for it. Like, let me know if I need to contact this guy so he can hold it for you or whatnot. And all of a sudden, they don't want the part anymore. It's
they don't follow up. Right.
Yeah, why are you wasting my time and, you know, whoever time that I'm holding? Like, it's, I don't know, there's certain pet peeves that I have about certain people that I run across in the car game. But a lot of that to me is an ego issue more than anything else. Like, especially within the Nissan and Infiniti platform, I feel like it's at an all-time high when it comes to arrogance and ignorance.
I agree.
Where people assume that I'm telling them something out of like I'm trying to harm them or trying to make them make a bad decision. Don't get me wrong, I'm down for making quote unquote bad decisions depending on what they are. Like, I'm not gonna tell you not to twin turbo your car. You will never hear me not tell you to boost your car, because boost is amazing. But I'm not going to purposely send you to a bad shop. I'm not going to purposely have you order bad parts that I know have failed. Like, and if I don't know their information, I know somebody who does. It's just, I don't know. It's just weird that it's like that in the Nissan world. It's like, I've been in it for, I got my first 350Z 2011, so almost 10 years now that I've been around in this platform. I know 10 years isn't a very long time, but I've created a lot of different connections, and I talk to a lot of different people. I do a lot of different, research on stuff, and I get opinions from people who have developed parts for the platform. Like, and it's just weird. Like and it's like that. I feel like it's probably like that in other platforms as well, where someone can be an LS guru, like have legitimate knowledge and expertise in the field, but because somebody on social media did otherwise, like they're just gonna follow whatever social media did. And for the past few years, I honestly feel like social media has been more of a detriment to the car society than it has been a positive thing. Now, it's nice getting your cars out there. It's nice getting the recognition you deserve at car meets, making it into SEMA, which is fantastic. Making it on the front cover of magazines. Like, huge props out to all those people who have built something like that and, made that a goal of theirs. Like, I want to get on the front cover of Super Street. Like, that's, if you can accomplish that, to me, my opinion is irrelevant. You're on the front cover of Super Street magazine. It shouldn't really matter what anyone else has to say when you can make it on the cover of a magazine. But in the same breath, there's people who will blindly follow people on social media, especially in the Nissan world. And it's like, you guys fail to acknowledge the fact that these guys who are popular, not all of them, but some of the guys who are popular in the Nissan platform on social media aren't paying nearly as much as what you would pay to get the same amount of work done. They get things for, heavily discounted prices, or they have a plug somewhere, or they got it done because of the exposure it will create. Like, there's so many other things that people just don't look into, but because so-and-so on Instagram with 500,000 followers did X, Y, and Z, I'm going to do exactly what he did because it must be the best thing to do. Mm-hmm. 9 times out of 10, that's not the case.
Yep.
So, I don't know. Social media it's good for us, and it's a very good tool. It helps us out as a car community. It helps showcase your creativity, which, again, is lacking in the Nissan world. But it can be toxic. It can be extremely toxic.
And I think that's kind of what brought us together as well, though.
Yeah, honestly. When you look down and you break it down to the bare bones, that's one of the main reasons why Black Automotive Enthusiasts exist, is because of the kind of crap that black people go through, especially in car groups. And it's, like I said, it has its benefits, but it definitely has its negatives at the same time.
Yeah, I remember, meeting you guys. There were 2 things that actually made me create the group chat, that had the good 7 or 8 of us, which ultimately led to, me creating the Black Automotive Enthusiast page. It was one, the obvious signs of, the obvious racism that we deal with, and that's within any social or political doctrine within our society. The car enthusiast scene being no less different between the racial slurs, the microaggressions, and everything else like that. But the other thing that stood out to me was the lack of representation in that sort of sense, like the lack of positive black representation within the car scene. And even expressing my enthusiasm for cars to black people that weren't, I don't even want to, not to say that they weren't particularly in the cars, but not in a genuine level of enthusiasm that I had. They saw it more as and that's not to knock it, but it was to expose the lack of demographics for car enthusiasts like us, the 3 of us here. For a lot of black people, I guess, the aspect of modifying a car just seems like a waste because there isn't a lot of disposable income within the black community as a whole in that sort of sense, and that's often correlated to wealth inequality gaps and racism. We can go on for that for ages, but even so much for us who do have that, disposable income to actually make cars look nice and things like that, it's perceived as a waste. And that was something that particularly bothered me. Hearing that from other black people, seeing that online, So I'm wondering if it's, I mean, one, it's not just the fact that we have to put up with the racism from a lot of non-black populations, but also pretty much the lack of enthusiasm representation. Not to say there aren't a genuine amount of black enthusiasts, but the lack of representation in that sort of sense. That's kind of what also drew me to making the group, is to kind of create a niche zone for people who are car enthusiasts, regardless of whether they're into high performance cars or they're into luxury or anything of the sort. So,
I mean, and the same people who will tell you, like, I have family members who would tell me I should stop spending so much money on my car, and they will turn around and go and spend $1,000 at the mall on clothes. I'm like, I mean, you shouldn't be spending all this money on clothes when you wear the same thing every time I see you, homie. Like you never are wearing any of the things that, like, again, I have a cousin. I love him to death, but he has like 70 different pairs of shoes. I'm like, bro, why? Like, and every time we're at a family function, he's wearing the same beat up ones he's always had. And again, people's hobbies are different. But don't come at me about my hobby when I don't come at you about your hobby. Like, I don't care what you do with your money, man. But, like, it's just one of those things. And I used to be a sneakerhead myself until I got into cars. I'm like, I'm not about to go spend $300 on shoes. I'm going to be in my car or under my car or something at some point. I'm not going to risk getting those messed up. Like, it's just not something for me, But I honestly feel like there's an odd stigma about black people who are into cars for some reason or another. It feels, I don't know, like, I can't put my finger on it. I feel like it's more quote unquote normal and normalized to have, a white family who has 6 cars, but if a black family has 6 cars, it's a negative thing, and I don't understand that.
It's cultural conditioning, right?
Yeah. And we brought this group together, and it's been one of my things that I'm most proud of.
Definitely
seeing people. I mean, despite the arguments that we have on the page and people going at each other, and of course the stupid ass super debates, and like all the crap that happens.
Chill out, man. Chill out, yo.
Y'all know what I'm saying, though, man. Like,
get you, bro. That's hilarious.
At the end of the day, we wouldn't have this forum, this place, this opportunity to come together in a format like this. Like, it's one of, again, going back to social media, like, it's a great thing that we have going.
Oh yeah,
despite everything else. There's a hell of a lot more positives than there are negatives about what we have going on, and to think that it's all revolving cars, the thing that we can all agree on that we love to some extent.
Let's go back to the stupid super debates. No, we gotta say this, bro. It's a perfect point. I'm glad he actually brought that up.
Oh, God.
Because we have our safe space, yo. Like, we have our safe space. We can have a stupid super debate within our safe space and get mad at each other. Because if it wasn't in our safe space that we were having this argument with somebody, the names and words that you would be called, my brothers and sisters.
Yeah. And of course, being moderators of the group, and I try my best not to have. I try my best not to have a biased opinion about things, but like all of us, we are biased about certain things. But that doesn't mean that I'm not listening to the argument. Doesn't mean that I'm not paying attention. It's just
it's a lot to maintain.
I feel a certain way.
It's a lot of micromanaging.
Definitely a lot to maintain, and we're not going to catch everything. We're not going to be able to. I mean, quite frankly, one of the main reasons, at least, why we have this is because we want you guys to express yourselves. We want everyone to feel like they can come out and have, a legitimate, safe space to be passionate about their love for whatever car, vehicle, truck, whatever thing that's powered by a motor that you drive on the road or elsewhere. be passionate about it.
And just to interject before, if anyone is wondering what Trey is talking about, so we created a Black Automotive Enthusiast Facebook page. One, we have a public page, as well as an Instagram page. But for our members, we actually do have a closed private page. So if it's something you want to join, to be represented amongst your own, fellow car enthusiasts in that sort of sense, check out Black Auto Enthusiasts. So, Trey, back to you.
Oh, I'm done, man. Like I said, it's just one of those things where it's
right.
I'm extremely passionate about this group,
right.
And there's so much that confuses me sometimes about the interactions that happen on the group.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, I fully understand everyone's going to have a varying opinion about stuff. Like, in the back of my mind, I'm always petty about things, but I don't always say it, and what I say about those.
Hey man, that's my alarm. I gotta post on Instagram. Sorry, I love what I do.
I'm just messing with you, bro.
But yeah, I understand what you mean, and this is something I've often struggled with since I started the page last year, and you guys have called me out on the BS, and I need to step up on that. The conflicts that I've run into, and AJ, if he were here, he'd share his input on this, as I'm sure you guys have run into. It's really so much understanding social media culture in general, understanding, getting over the conflicts, not just as car enthusiasts, but especially within Black culture, to overcome just a lot of the cultural conditioning we've been subjected to. That's something I've personally struggled to deal with in that sort of sense, and that's often why I've butted heads with, even some members of the group. I've butted head with you guys on this. And that's when I have to take a step back and reevaluate the whole situation, and those are some of the challenges that we run into the group. I think for the Black car community that joined our private group, it's a little different coming into a group where we have the floor. It's centered around a positive sense in terms of Blackness, a positive sense in terms of being a Black car enthusiast, avoiding the racism, avoiding the racist microaggressions, the stereotypes, the lack of representation. So I think for many of the members, it can be a little bit overwhelming because we're not accustomed to it.
Yes.
And so there's a little bit of a learning curve that comes with that, because in a lot of the previous environments we're in, we were conditioned to be very hostile, defensive, and
you gotta fight for a voice.
We have to fight for exactly. And now that we're in a space where we don't have to fight, we can't help but continuously see challenges, and that's a learning curve, a sense of cultural conditioning that we're continuing to break. For the most part, it's been generally positive. Once in a while, we do get some challenges, and that results in a simple talking to, trying to build a level of understanding. Unfortunately, worse comes to worse, that person no longer becomes a part of the group. That happens, as with any other forum, someone gets banned or someone gets a warning or anything else like that. But for the most part, being that we have the thousands of members we have in our group, I think they really do see the value in this group. As car enthusiasts, as Black people, as Black car enthusiasts in general. So,
check that Google search out. Search up Black Automotive Enthusiasts.
Yeah, so if you guys,
that post about how there's not many of us anymore, that's wiped out. We got the stage now. You'll find our social media links.
Exactly. So what Tom is referring to, for those who don't know, so basically, before I started this group, I actually did a search on Google about a year plus ago, almost 2 years ago, where I searched for something in relation to Black automotive enthusiasts. Where are they? And I came across two particular search results on Google. One was an article on Jalopnik from, it was an editorial from a Black editor saying, where are the Black car enthusiasts? And another piece I came across was a YouTube video where someone, I forgot what kind of car he had. It was a V6 something. I forgot what it was. And he was asking the same thing. Where are the black car enthusiasts? And so before even creating the page, I thought to myself, why is it that we don't have this kind of forum? And I believe for a lot of us, it's just because of the fact that we're not accustomed to having something that belongs to us, or something, not even so much of what it belongs to us, but it at least represents us in a positive manner. We tend to dismiss it because we've been conditioned to think it was wrong. And so as a result, we try to assimilate to the norm, which traditionally are, white dominated, car enthusiast environments, a lack of representation, having to, bite our tongues and swallow every little bit of racist microaggressions we encounter, whether it's on forums, whether it's in person, the awkward stares when, they see, a black person, a prominent figure stepping out in a rather nice car, whether it's an exotic or a sports car. The fact that we're met with bewilderment when someone realizes that we're actually knowledgeable on performance car platforms. I've run into it all the time. One of the previous groups... I'm sorry?
I was just saying, when you can do more than just read the brochure.
Exactly, when you can do more than read the brochure. So, one thing, for example, I met Trei and Thomas online through a Nissan Z enthusiast group I started back in 2014. It was called Southeast Florida Z&G, and we had people all over the country who had a Nissan Z join anyway. But, I often ran into, facial expressions of bewilderment when I met some of the members in person, when they realized it was a black person running this group. This group with 900 plus people in Nissan Zs. And so that was something that, irritated me endlessly, of course, as it should. And just running into that sort of scenario prompted me to create that sort of group. And so for me as a car enthusiast, one of the big things for me is representation. If we're going back to the original topic, the big thing for me is representation. And in, a multitude of aspects. So one, a representation of people who share my car. A representation of people who share similar lifestyles as I do, as car enthusiasts. So for me, one of the things that I'm really trying to do now is branch off and meet professionals like myself that are, white collar professionals. We have a traditional 9-to-5 job, may or may not have gotten out of school, but, are car enthusiasts, but, unfortunately they don't have time to get down on the weekends and wrench and everything else like that, just because our lifestyle sort of mesh. So I'm actually looking for more people like that, but I'm not afraid to get down and dirty when I have the time to, especially if it's something minor like an oil change or changing out some brake pads and rotors. That stuff I don't mind doing. But for me, when it comes to car enthusiasm, I think the biggest thing is representation. What I'm realizing through creating this group, as my taste in cars evolve, as my lifestyle in general evolves, the biggest thing for me is representation. Representation as a car enthusiast in general, not just with platforms, but meeting up with people, like I said before, who share that same lifestyle. They have professional jobs, they have their daily or they have their weekend car, they like attending events, and we can just, build and bond off that sort of experience. So that's kind of my aspect to it.
Real quick, I'm assuming this might be the video you were talking about, though. It's Sam Stang on YouTube. He March 28th, 2018, posted a video, "Why are there no black car enthusiast vlogs?" It might be the video you were talking about, but it was this and another article that I read that I think I linked to you guys as we were creating the group. And it's always one of those things where, for some reason or another, they assume that people of color aren't going to be interested in certain things, which I never really understood that, because people in general have different hobbies. We all enjoy different things. I was reading up on a story for one of my own personal hobbies. I love photography. Right. I don't know that many black photographers, and every time that, I mean, even my own family, like when I was really heavily into photography and had all of my gear and stuff, it's just one of those weird situations where they assumed that I didn't know what I was doing. They thought I was just playing with the camera, you know, and it's just like, well, thanks for the support, you know. So it's one of those things where, for some reason or another, I feel like, you know, people of color really have to fight extra hard to validate their hobbies and the things that they like, the things that they enjoy. And with this platform, it's perfect for us. You know, we don't have to really work as hard, I don't think, when we have this kind of support. You know, and some of the things that I didn't know, we have that I later found out after they joined the group. We have people in the group who have been like centerfold pages in magazines that I used to pick up all the time.
Right, I remember that. Yeah, I remember seeing a couple of those.
Articles on these brothers' cars that are in Super Street or in DS Sport or whatever other magazine that's out there, you know, and cars that have been featured at SEMA, but they're black owned, like, and it's one of those. It's just a proud moment for me. I don't know this guy from the neighbors down the street, but there's some odd sense of pride when I see one of my brothers and sisters doing something major like that in the car world.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You know, and that's one reason why I don't really understand the hate that we see amongst each other within the group. It's like it just comes off odd to me that there's so much bickering and going back and forth. Granted, opinions are fine, sure, but sometimes it's just better to keep your opinions to yourself. I mean, you don't have to agree or like everything that someone else is doing with their car, but we really need to work together to not have that as something to even think about. As many other pages as you see on social media, especially on Facebook, so many different car groups and car pages that people can be a part of. There's enough of that crap going on on those groups as it is to come and bring that same kind of animosity to a page where it's just a bunch of brothers and sisters trying to
coexist,
you know, express themselves.
That's why I appreciate our page, because I kind of pay close attention to it. I pay a lot of attention to it, actually. And some of the people that I really disliked a lot, I never said anything to them. I'm an admin, moderator, call it what you want to call it. I pay a lot of attention to a lot of the comments and a lot of the people. I know everybody's car and everybody's face to that car pretty much. And I see you guys' comments. And I've noticed the longer you're in the group, the more positive, the more accepting you become. Everybody comes in with that will to fight for their voice to be heard, like I kind of dipped in and said earlier. Everybody fights for their voice to be heard when they first join our page. But then, as they get accepted, as they feel more and more welcome and accepted, everything mellows out. They become a teacher instead of a rowdy student. They become a teacher. They want everybody to get along.
You realize they don't have to fight anymore.
Yeah, it's real. I like how the page is going. So we'll have our waves when we do giant acceptance, and it'll get a little rowdy, and it'll all mellow out. I love it.
I mean, and real huge shout out to all the people who have really put in their own input, positively or negatively, on the group as a whole. I'm sure you guys know who you are. You're always constantly on topics or giving your own input or advice or whatever it may be, constantly posting, literally like post after post after post after post about something different, something car related. We appreciate all of that. You know, we might not say much about it, but we do pay attention to things that get posted and who posts them. And, you know, hopefully one of these days we'll get to a point where, you know, your efforts and your contributions to the group will be rewarded in some way. You know, that's not to give you guys incentive to spam us with posts, because please don't, because they won't get approved. There's only 4 of us. But
would you guys like
we
to
do
go
pay
ahead
attention.
And shout out the top 10 contributors? Because a lot of
I
us
can,
are really cool with most of them.
I can do that real quick. Let me just pull it back up. Unless you have it up right now, Thomas.
I've got it up right now. And for the last 90 days, our top guy, one of the dudes I found on YouTube through my buddy Mikhail, Alexis King. Kings of Recreation. Search his page up. OG Drifter. Alexis is a cool dude. You guys probably know him on the page a lot. He posts a lot of GT Sport, a lot of video game stuff. He really goes out and drives his car and thrashes and throws down. You guys should look him up.
Yeah. Charles is on there. Andrew's on there. And we'll post this later.
Oh yeah.
Like all these guys, I've had some kind of conversation with or butt heads with at some point in some way. Stanley Preston, Matthew Scott, DJ Eagles, Trei Morrow, Cali Krez,
Me and DJ
Ryan
got
Charles
something coming
Triplett,
for you soon.
Ryan Taylor, Lexus King, of course, McSpoolie Boy, and Charles. You guys literally have been posting and commenting out of your minds for the past 28 days. Trei Morrow has 52 different posts in 28 days.
And actually, his are very informative posts. I see a lot of his that go up. His are very informative posts.
Yeah. And these guys, you guys are constantly commenting and just giving some kind of feedback. Again, positively or negatively, that doesn't really matter. It's all about the interaction. And that's what we love to see out of the group as a whole. And we do appreciate you guys, regardless of any amount of times that we've ever butt heads or, had disagreements. We definitely do appreciate the amount of work you guys put in. It really shows how much you guys actually care about the group as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Because if you didn't care, you wouldn't be putting in that much time. We appreciate you.
I'm looking at between 10 people, there's over 4,000, almost 4,000 comments between 10 people in the last 28 days.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Something like that. My math is terrible, but it's up there. So you guys are definitely making your rounds and touching pretty much every post, it seems. So we definitely do appreciate it, fellas.
Definitely appreciate it.
I guess just to close things off, car enthusiasm is pretty much what you make of it. At the end of the day, whether you're into exotics, you're into imports, Euros, domestics, whether you're into drag racing, drifting, rallying, road course racing, my personal favorite. Whether you're into I4s, flat sixes, V8s, V10s. At the end of the day, it has a motor in it. It's got a set of wheels, got a drivetrain, and it goes. Whether you own one of these vehicles or you can appreciate them from a distance, that's what makes you a car enthusiast at the end of the day. We are all entitled to our opinions in terms of what is preferable, what isn't, but at the end of the day, we really can't knock you for liking what you like. But what I do say, and this is within my closing statement as well, be open to trying new things. I used to think that I was solely into drag racing and having high horsepower cars, for everyday use as a daily driver. And I've had that mindset since, the early 2000s, and here we are in 2019. I attended one road course event at PBIR and a 600 wheel horsepower ZL11LE, and the first thing I thought to myself was, it wasn't the horsepower that impressed me, it was the braking, it was the cornering, it was the atmosphere, it was the rules and regulations I had to remember following, and it was significantly more complicated than anything I remember in, a street race. There were so many elements and variables I had to think about that it never occurred to me during a drag race, and all of a sudden it was just like, whoa. And, some people may think that drifting takes no skill. You're just simply sliding the car, which is totally not the case.
Psych.
And
You thought?
Go out
like
there,
you
dump
thought,
the clutch
right?
if you want to.
And that sort of thing. So what I say with in this statement, keep an open mind to the different levels of car enthusiasm, different types of car enthusiasm that people have, and try it. You never know. It might awaken some hidden passion you never know was there. You might change your perspective on cars like it did for me. So always keep an open mind. Don't knock each other down for car enthusiasm. Let's build each other up, not tear each other down. So with that being said, that's it for the first Black Automotive Enthusiast podcast. So I'm Pascal.
Oh, we sounding off?
We
My
sounded
fault.
off.
I was trying to figure out how to make sure we close this out, but yeah, I'm Trey Sorrell. You guys know me. Yeah, thank you guys for tuning in.
Oh yeah, I'm Thomas Pabone. You know me from the Waves and the Profile pic, and we are Black Automotive Enthusiasts. We're gonna stick to finding our representation within the passion that we love. Let's get
That's
it.
right. That's right, guys. So, be sure to check out Black Automotive Enthusiast on Facebook, our Instagram page at Black Automotive Enthusiast. Be sure to check out our website, find out more. Be sure to DM us, on Instagram or Facebook to find out more. And as always, stay classy. So, take care, guys.
See ya.
All right, family. Catch y'all on the pages.